Hi, in this video we will talk about fonts and texts. Well, let's start with fonts. Well, basically a font is a collection of glyphs, and these glyphs can be used to display a text. And this engine here uses TTF files for fonts. Well, TTF stands for True Type Font. A Lynar engine text is basically an object of a string class, and this text can be related to an existing Lynar font, which can then be rendered to the screen. So we will extend our program. We will first create a font, then we will create the text and relate it to the font, and then we are going to implement a cool thing. We will add a fade-in effect, which means that the text we created before will slowly fade in. Before we actually can use any fonts, we need to initialize the font library of the engine, and we are doing this by typing in init ttf. Now, before we can use an engine font, make sure that you actually have a font, and this is the location again where you can find your executable file. And I created a media folder, and inside you can find my TTF file, and this file we're going to use for creating an engine font. So let's now create a font for our application, and we are doing this by typing in font create TTF, and this function has 3 parameters, and the first one again is an ID. Let's say 17. And again, this ID must be unique to the font class. Second is a string. This is the location where your TTF file can be found. In this case, it's media and the name of the TTF file. And last parameter is the font size in pixel. Well, let's choose 40. So that's all you needed to do to create a font. Let's now create a text, and we are doing this by typing in text create, and again we need to choose an unique ID. Let's take 1. Then let's add a string. Let's say great tutorial, which I hope it's true, and then we would have to submit the text. And this means that due to the fact that you could add multiple strings to one text object, this function combines all added strings to one string, which is important for rendering. And let's then relate the font we created before. First parameter is the text ID, second one is the font ID, and we now can prepare the text for drawing, and actually that's the function's name. Okay. Click build and build solution. Okay. So what this function actually does is to create a texture which can then be rendered to the screen. So let's execute our program, and as you can see, that's our text with our font. What we could do now is to change the text position. Let's center the text on the screen. And to center a text, we first would have to retrieve the size of the text. And we can do this by typing in SDL.size and type in text get size. We have to pass the ID. And this is important. This function will only return a size if a texture of the text does exist Otherwise, this function will not return a size. And let's now calculate the new text position by typing in text set position, where the first parameter is the ID and the second one is the x coordinate. So let's do a little math here. Let's first get the screen resolutions width minus size.x divided by 2, and this will center the text on x dimension, and of course we would have to do the same with y dimension. So change this to height and size dot y. Okay, let's build this one. Okay, and let's execute the application, and as you can see, the text is being centered. Well, last thing we wanted to do is to add the text fading effect, and to do that you first need to understand the alpha channel of a color value or a pixel, where usually a pixel contains these 3 color channels RGB, but sometimes it has a 4th channel called the alpha channel. And if this alpha channel has a value of, let's say, 0, this means that you would not see the pixel or the color value, because in this case this color value or the pixel is transparent. With a total max value of 255 you would totally see the pixel. So to prepare and implement our text fading effect, we first need to set this alpha channel value to 0, and we can do this by text set alpha. Well, first we have to pass the ID, and then we set the alpha channel value to 0, and this is how our text fading effect would work. First we would have to set the alpha channel value to 0 to fade the text. Well, now we are able to implement the actual fading effect. Well, let's say we want to fade the text after the background color has changed, and we type in text fade, where first we need to pass the ID again, and then we need to pass an alpha value. Well, let's take 40, and the alpha value of this text will increase by 40 per second. So let's build this one, and let's execute our application, and that's the text fading effect. Well, that's all about texts and fonts, and thanks for watching.